Travelers. I'm Josh.
And I'm Kahib.
And we're the Genshin guys. Welcome all. This podcast is for fans of Genshin Impact, the mobile game made by Hoyoverse, also known as miHoYo. Here we talk about our opinions, experiences, and dreams about Genshin Impact. If you like our show, don't forget to subscribe on Apple Music, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to the podcast. Kahi, before we get started, how are you doing today?
Cold. That's pretty much it.
Well then.
It's just really cold. Yeah. All of my brain power is just focused on keeping me warm right now. But yeah.
Now, when you say cold in Hawaii, you mean like how cold are we talking?
Okay. All right. Well, let me just check the good old phone here because I don't have a thermostat. I don't have a thermometer here. Let's see. Currently, it is 71 degrees.
Oh,
that's cold in
Hawaii.
Hawaii.
How many Celsius is that? Oh, 21. Wow. That is hot. that is okay. So it is it's 21 degrees Celsius for you right now, okay?
Mhm.
And for us,
it's because it's warm. Like, sorry, it's not warm. It's because there's like so much like water in the air. Anytime it gets like a little bit cold, it's like you can feel like all the cold bits just like sticking. Like it's icy wind. It's not like dry cold when in a lot of like other like Midwestern states. It's actually just wet air that's slowly getting closer to freezing point.
Yeah, it's you're at 21 Celsius, but we're at -2 Celsius because I live in Canada, and that's 28 degrees.
It feels different, okay?
Oh, that's
the air is different, I swear.
Spoiled Hawaii weather. I got it. I know. I used to live there.
Yeah, we complain about 60-degree weather.
So besides the weather, what else is up?
I didn't realize how much anime I have like in my queue. I'm trying to balance like games, work, anime, food, sleep. I mean, it sounds hectic, but it's not. But it's just pretty hilarious how much I'm just trying to balance my play. I have like 10 different shows I'm trying to keep track of, and I'm already forgetting a lot of the characters' names. Some are actually really good, some I'm just watching because it's funny. But the one that are you watching anything in particular? It doesn't have to be anime, but are you watching anything?
Not watching anything in particular.
I have heard The Last of Us is just really good for people who like games or don't like games, or like animation and don't like animation. I'm not a fan of like live action in general, but even like zombie apocalypse like stuff is not really my forte. But hey, for The Last of Us, the live action show, to be this well received by the community is actually really, really good to hear. It gives me like hope for like other future like video game adaptations, because I don't know if you guys know this, but Sony like bought the rights to Bungie's Destiny franchise as far as like making like animations and stories and TV shows. So Bungie makes the game, but if they ever wanted to make a show, Sony's in charge of that. So I am really hopeful for that now, if like we're seeing a steady trend of video game adaptations done right.
Well, it's one. It's a one.
Sorry.
So I wouldn't get your hopes up too much. It's not a trend quite yet.
Sorry for all the Halo fans, but yeah, we're gonna get something good in the future. I promise. We have Arcane Season 2 to look forward to in the far future. But yeah, that's what's going on in my world. That's what I'm looking forward to. That's how I'm feeling. What about you, Josh? How are you?
I'm good. Just trying to get used to Canada and trying to find a community, hopefully a community that plays Genshin, but also a community that plays other things I'm interested, like Valorant, fighting game, etc., etc. So yeah, I'm kind of just feeling how it is here. I've only been here less than 2 weeks still, so lots of potential, but all I know is that I have the podcast, I have my streams, and all you guys listening, and I really appreciate all the support. And yeah, I'm just enjoying my chill time, not having to like go to work every day. So that's how I've been recently. Let's go ahead and get started with introducing today's topics. So today we'll be talking about our weeks in Genshin, Genshin news. There's not a lot of Genshin news, but we'll talk about it. And Lantern Rite story for this Lantern Rite event, and Haitham's story, his story quest. And last but not least, we will do our community discussion question. So lots to look forward to today. A lot of fun stuff, and hopefully you enjoy. So thanks for listening. Okay, let's get started with our weeks in Genshin. Okay, so Kahi, how has your week in Genshin been?
Finally got Yao Yao.
Woo!
And just after building pity, I'm just kind of leveling off my wishes. I'm like 50 wishes into pity, and so I have an extra 51 wishes lined up. So when Daya comes out, I'm definitely going to be hoping for a 50-50 with my 50 pity and 50 wishes. That's a pretty interesting lineup. But as I was doing, like, building up pity, just spending like a couple of wishes here and there, I got another Yao Yao. So I have a C1, and I didn't level her up all the way just yet. I have her at level 50 or 60. Yeah, 50 or 60. She's actually more fun than I thought.
Haha.
Because I partnered her with Huta. So I talked about my other team the other week. I have my funeral parlor team, where you had like Nahida applying Dendro, and then Hutao making like a really long lasting burn. I really just needed a Dendro applicator, so Yao Yao being from the same region, might as well just put on the same team. So I have Zhongli, Hutao, Yelan, and Yao Yao. So kind of thematic in a way. I was trying to get like characters with all like black clothing, because like, funeral parlor. It would have matched, but I didn't want to try and go too hard in the theme. But it actually is a really good team. Her Dendro bunny is pretty hilarious, because the little splash damage is great. I have her at like 19,000 health at only at this low level, so I want to get her to at least 30,000 to be good enough. I'm still trying to make her like a dedicated healer and just Dendro applicator, but I've just been playing around with that one particular team for a while I'm just saving up and getting all the character level ups for Daya, and then I can have a much better Pyro team. But yeah, just building my team, finishing the stories. I'm halfway through Jet's quest, so I think, yeah, I'll save the story stuff for when we talk about the Lantern Rite and Haitham. But what about you, Josh? How's your week?
So I just want to say real quick about your team. Seems like you don't really like using your character's abilities, huh, Kai?
What do you mean?
Like how Hutao does more damage when she's low health, and Staff of Homa that Zhongli has also makes him do more when he's low health. But you have Yao Yao, who's like constantly healing you. So, because I did the same thing actually. I was playing like I was messing with the burning
characters.
I was messing with what's it called, Hutao Yao Yao. And then I was like, oh wait, like Staff of Homa and Hutao, like she can't be with a healer, or she loses like basically almost half her damage. So that's why Zhongli and Hutao are always together, because Zhongli's shield is so strong that she can be low health and not have to heal. And then when she needs to heal, she'll just hit a bunch of enemies with her burst, and then she'll heal back up a little bit, but then she'll use health again to use her skill. So like if you have a healer,
well, that's why I switched the staffs.
Yeah, but if you have a healer on the team, it negates any kind of need to do that at all, because the ability to do that almost, because you're going to be constantly healed while you're under 70 health with Yao Yao. So, and you need to be under 50 health to get the buffs. So, it is what it is. But I know you're an aesthetic player, so you do you, Kai.
It's just I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just the look of it or the feel. I don't really like when characters get such low health. I mean, Kuki is an exception because she heals very quickly. And
yeah, but I don't like that either, because like
built.
most of the time I'll be Kuki, use her skill to have the healing and the electro application, but then she'll have low health because I'll switch out of her. So then I have to switch back to her just to give her health sometimes. Right? You know what I mean?
I have her with like Kokomi, because right now her team is Kazuha, Ayaka.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Kuki and Kokomi.
So you have two
Kokomi's
healers.
Jellyfish first. Yeah, and then when Cookie comes out and uses her skill, she's getting like healed at least once or twice by
I see, I
Kokomi.
see.
And so she's back
She's
to full,
always my
not
solo
full,
healer.
but
That's why I have this feeling.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, that
Double
makes sense
healer
if you have
teams
two.
can actually be really good.
No, they're super good, especially with Yao Yao and Kokomi, and you do like the Yao Yao, Kokomi, Nilu, and Dendro Traveler or a Haitham or something like that. Really, really good. Also, I can't wait for Baizu, man.
Synergy.
That'd be so hype.
He's most likely going to be Dendro, I think.
Dude, he has to be. I think he has. They've shown him in like when you look at him, he has a Dendro vision. So, I think we'll see it eventually.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I think so. On his like character model.
I did not see it at all.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we don't know yet exactly where that's gonna happen. But as far as the other things that went on this week, I on stream I won 50-50 and got Al Haitham, which was so great. I was really close to Pity, and I was like 77 or 78 pulls. Or no, I think I was already at 80 pulls, and I got Al Haitham, but I won the 50-50, which was awesome. It was on stream. It was because my friend was there. And he's good luck because he's a beginner, and I got his beginner luck to rub off on me. I think that's what happened. We all think that's what happened, so I'm gonna run with that story. And I was like messing with Al Haitham teams. I built him up already to he's already at 90, or he's at like 86. I just need to get some heroes with and level him up to 90. And because I've been really excited using Al Haitham in a bunch of teams, I'm also prepping Lisa. I got her to 80. She was at 60, and I got her to 80 because I want to use her when she gets her costume. And I wanted to tell you about my theme team that I made. It's not very good, and so I had to switch some stuff. But I put Al Haitham, Yanfei, Kuki, and Lisa. Do you know what the theme is?
Academics?
Yeah, we went to college. So
that's a good one. I like
so
that.
So it's not a good team in that like Yanfei and Al Haitham always want to be out on the field at the same time. So like they're both DPS. But so I replaced Yanfei with Nahida, and the team is just fantastic. But and I think Nahida kind of counts. Not like we went to college, but like I called the team scholarship.
It is the college.
So
scholarship is good. Scholars.
Yeah, so I was gonna call it scholarly, but yeah. So anyway, I made that team. That's fun, and I found out that in settings, if you go to controller settings, you can actually change what's on the quick wheel. I didn't know that. Did you know that?
Nope. And
yeah.
I don't know if I need to adjust it because I can get everything.
I mean, so I also feel the same way. The only one thing I changed is the adventurer's journal because we never use that. So I changed the adventurer journal to.
It's in the main menu.
It's in the main menu, but I changed it to the what's it called? To the camera, so I can just flip the camera out.
Camera mode or like the camera gadget?
The camera mode. Yeah, the camera gadget you have to equip normally, like the food bag, right? But it's nice to have the camera mode.
That is actually good. That is one less button. Mm-hmm.
You can also put the changing time of day button on there too. So if you want to like do that quickly, you can do that too. So yeah, it's worth looking at least because it's really nice to be able to customize stuff like that. But yeah, so I figured that out, and so yesterday I wanted to tell you that I had like this 7-hour stream where I finished the story for Jet's quest, like the Golden Slumber continuation quest, and then I also finished Al Haitham's story, and I mixed up that we were gonna do the desert story today. We're actually doing that next week, right? So I spent like 6 hours on stream doing that thing yesterday, forcing myself to do it. It was fun, but I didn't have to do it the way I thought I did. So I feel kind of stupid, but it was fun. We had like a 7-hour stream. There was a bunch of people that showed up. Yeah, we will talk about next week for sure.
I can't wait to talk about Babel. It's gonna be so long.
I called her Babel, but like the Tower of Babel.
But she's a babe.
Oh, I see. That's it. Babel. Okay, I got it. I'll call her Babel. Okay, so the last thing is that when we were doing stream, I was having like the chat pick my team comp, and Peachy on Genshin, who like comments regularly on our question, showed up yesterday
Shout out.
and was like, yeah, shout out, woo. They had me recommend this team that was Yao Yao because they really like Yao Yao, and they're like, I've been a Yao Yao main for 2 years. I've been waiting since the release and since her reveal. And so I did a physical DPS Yao Yao team with like Yao Yao as the main with like Staff of Homa, but I didn't have enough crit rate, so I switched from Staff of Homa to Primordial Jade Wing Spear. I had Pale Flame. I had C6 who is it? C6 Rosaria, because her burst lowers physical resistance by like 20%. And then C4 Xinyan, whose elemental skill lowers physical resistance by like 15%. And then I had Kuki to proc the superconduct off of Rosaria's burst so that I could get the extra physical damage bonus. And so my Yao Yao was doing like, I think the most I did in like a charge attack was 17,000 on physical damage. And every hit was like 7,000, 8,000, and then or like 10,000. I don't know. It was great. It was so funny. So, and Yao Yao is cool. Like, I like her attack animations, but just doing that made me think, oh man, adorable. I should just do more cool physical builds with people, because I really like some characters what's it called? Their attack animations, but you never get to use them because you're only using their skill and then you leave. You know, like for example, I like Toma's or Kuki's, like she has the kunai, like that's really cool. So yeah, anyway, that was really fun doing the Yaya physical DPS. So thank you, Picho and Genshin, shout out for recommending that. And we were talking about having maybe on stream, but also in episodes, talking about these like fun builds to do. That could be really cool. We could, we should have, Kahi, I just had an idea. Are you ready? We should ask people for their themed teams, and we should discuss them as a segment, because that sounds fun.
Thematic teams.
We could even make that a community question. Yeah, well, let's talk about it. Anyway, so that's what I did this week. A lot of streaming, a lot of fun stuff. And I appreciate for everyone that came out to support. Thank you so much. So I believe that concludes our week in Genshin segment. Next, we'll be talking quickly about Genshin news. Okay, so in Genshin news today, actually not that much. There's not really any news. I think because of Lantern Rite / Chinese New Year, they kind of were taking a break, and they didn't really post too much. But Rosaria, her birthday was on January 23rd. So they did, of course, post the birthday posts. And I wanted to quickly, it's not really news, but I wanted to bring up the Haitham clone discussion that we talked about last week. Because now that I have Haitham, I just wanted to add a point to that discussion, which was how Keqing and Haitham look exactly the same with their moves. Remember we talked about that, right?
Character clones.
Yeah, we talked about that. And now neither of us had Haitham at the time, but now that I have Haitham, I can tell you that if you're someone who is like not really reading the ability descriptions and you just press the elemental skill, you attack, you use the burst, attack, Keqing and Haitham play almost the same, almost exactly the same. You can play them the same way, but the biggest thing about Haitham is that to manage those little chiseled mirror light things to keep your Dendro application on, and when you're attacking, depending on how many of those chiseled mirrors you have, you do an extra attack. Either like those little chiseled mirrors rain down from the sky, a green sword comes out of nowhere and attacks, there's like an extra green slash. Those things will happen depending on how many shards you have. So most of his damage actually comes from those shards. So the longer that you can keep out those 3 crystals, then the more damage he does when he's out, Dendro damage. So maintaining that, there's a sort of pattern / timing that you have to remember in your head. I mean, you can look at it as well, but if you have to kind of time everything, plan out ahead of time. And I think it makes it so that Keqing and Haitham's entry level, like to play them, is the same level, is easy. But to master them, I think Haitham has a higher skill cap, a higher skill ceiling, because if you don't do that managing of those little crystals, you do way less damage. But you can play him like you play Kaching. So I think it's really interesting because they look exactly the same, and to the normal player,
ceiling.
they look the same, but the skill ceiling is much higher on Haitham. So
Yeah.
that's why just the point I wanted to add to the discussion, because they're very much clones of each other, but they added extra things to Alhaitham's kit to make him do more damage.
There was something about his charge attacks too. Like his charge attacks will either like keep will either refresh something or keep something up.
Right. So
But
I mean I don't want to
there's a
explain
reason
the
to
whole
use it.
thing, but basically to keep 3 mirrors, the typical rotation is you use your burst, and when you don't have any mirrors, it gives you 3 mirrors. And then those 3 mirrors will start disappearing one by one after 4 seconds. And then once 1 mirror disappears, if you do a charge attack, it will add another mirror. Or a plunging attack. Charging or plunging attack. But you can only do that once every 12 seconds. So you can't do it. By the time you can do it again, all your mirrors will be gone. So you do the burst, you have 3 mirrors. 1 mirror goes away, you do the charge attack. 1 mirror goes away again, you use your skill, because your skill, when you have mirrors, will give you 1 mirror. So that's one way you can do it. Or if you start with nothing and you use your skill, when you have nothing, you actually get 2 mirrors, and then you charge attack, and then you'll have 3 mirrors. So like that's kind of how it works. You balance whether you want to start with the burst first, or you want to start with the skill first, and then you try to keep your mirrors up as much as possible. That's the main intention for like how his abilities work. So it is important to know when you should be charging attacking, and when you should be using your burst, etc., etc. So it's really fun. I think it's actually like a fun game to play while you're kind of just playing him, because typically you just want to like throw all your abilities on him and then start attacking. Like usually I'll throw Lisa's burst down, or like electric thing, and then I'll throw Kuki's thing on. I'll use Nahida to apply Dendro, and then I'll just keep attacking and until my abilities run out, and then I'll switch and then start the rotation over for my aggravate spread team. So really, really fun. I think he just looks really cool too, so it adds a lot to his character.
It definitely does.
You have that, yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to add that point
Design.
because they're clones, but there's like an invisible difference that's really big. So that's like a really interesting thing to me, because I had no idea honestly before I got him, because I didn't invest too much time into learning how to play him because I didn't have him yet. So yeah, now I know. It's really, really cool. So yeah, so I just wanted to bring that up. Other than that, there's not really any Genshin news that was posted on the news thing. And in news in regards to Genshin Guys, our podcast, I wanted to let you all know that we've decided to try to do a live stream like the one I did before I left Japan every month. So we will, at the live stream, we will do a live version of Who's Voice Line. We will do riddles. We will do some playing on screen. Maybe we'll do some co-op. Maybe we'll do some TCG. You know, maybe we'll even invite people to do domains with us or something like that. Run around the world, take pictures, whatever. We'll do some fun stuff. It's kind of like a little mini party, and we'll have like a 2-hour stream. And our next stream, it will be on February 7th at 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Pacific time. So if you're interested, mark it on your calendars. I will add it to my Twitch stream schedule later. I have not done that yet, but we will be live on that day together, and we would love for you to come join us. So let us know if you can come join us. Let us know in the Discord. Just show up and bring your A game and get ready to solve some riddles and do some Who's Voice Line. Okay, now that all being said, from now we're going to talk about story stuff. So we're going to talk about the Lantern Rite story and Haitham story quest today, meaning there will be spoilers for those of you that have not completed the story quest yet. So please complete these story quests before listening if you don't want to be spoiled. But if you don't mind and you just want to listen to it anyway, feel free. Otherwise, I recommend you pause the podcast right now, go finish those story quests, especially Lantern Rite because it does expire, and then come back and listen to the episode. Okay, that being said, you ready to talk about the Lantern Rite story, Kahi?
Ready?
Awesome. So, I will go over the Lantern Rite story then. We will be talking about version 3.4, The Exquisite Nighttime. And this is the third Lantern Rite event that we've had in Genshin Impact since release. we went over the past two events, the summary of the stories in the last episode from last week. And just wanted to first talk about our overall thoughts on the event, first regarding the activities. So, Kahi, what did you think about the different activities in this event so far? Namely, the let me see what they're called here. The Radiant Sparks, Paper Theater, Vigilance at Sea, and Behind the Scenes. What did you think of these events? What was your favorite? Like, how were they overall? Let me know.
As far as my favorite, it's the most unique, so I like the Paper Theater. It was actually a little bit more tricky than I thought, because you have to, when you switch the papers around, clicking on them once. I didn't know this until like midway through the whole storytelling, that you could actually just pause the movement. I thought like once you started, you had to keep switching and you couldn't stop the character from moving, but
right,
I finally figured that out. But it's actually a really good brain teaser. You have to kind of rewire your brain a little bit, because like the edges of the actual scene are also kind of part of the mechanics. Like the border allows your character to kind of bounce and move the other way. So if you make the character move to one side, they'll just start walking the other. You have to just basically plan out, which direction does the character have to be walking after you move something, and then just figure out how to make them walk that way. It's a very good brain teaser. It's very simple. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other games like this that are on there's a lot of phone games that use this same kind of thing. Like you adjust the order of the panels, and then that just tells a whole new story. So that's probably my favorite. As far as fun overall, like that one, but I know you probably didn't like the boat event, but I kind of like the boat event, especially when there's a lot of other players running around. Like I eventually switched to the solo mode, but it was kind of funny when you seen all these other boats just take unnecessary damage, or you're just going slow and everyone's trying to rush around.
When you see everyone else also have not having fun. Okay, got it.
Come on, it's funny. It actually is, because you see them go straight into a barrel that they were you can tell they just held down the boost, went straight, and they just explode. It's kind of funny. But I'm just cruising along, just slowly turning, getting all their coins, and when they die, I just walk and just cruise right by them and pick up all their coins and just drive around. It's the contrast between how fast they're going and how slow you can go and still be in the lead. It's hilarious. You're just seeing the hustle and bustle of the city, and you're just this farm guy just making your way downtown, just walking along. Everyone's running around, tripping over each other, and you're just having the time of your life. I like that.
Amazing.
The Spark one, where you're just running through the coins, just boosting through the coins, it's pretty simple enough. The spectacle is there, the fireworks is pretty, the lights and everything, but there's the reason why I don't like that one, this is the only reason. When you are going through those wind boosts, those wind rings, if it goes down, it does not dampen the physics at all, or the inertia, because when it boosts you down, when you land, it's as if you fell, and it killed my character.
Well, I think your Genshin just doesn't like you.
Maybe it's just lag. Okay.
They're happy Lantern Rite, boom.
Yeah.
The next firework is you.
Those aren't sparks.
But okay.
How's
weird.
Your time? How did you like the activities?
So basically same. Behind the scenes was basically just fighting enemies. Vigilance at Sea, the boat thing was it was a boat thing, so I only did the multiplayer once, and I was like, well, I don't really need to do multiplayer. It's much faster if I just do it myself. And so I did it myself, and it's definitely not as bad. Some of the games aren't as bad, but you never know what you're gonna get, so it could be not fun. But for me, just in general, the boat is very wonky, and I understand that it controls like maybe a boat would. It has physics to it, but I don't know. It just didn't seem that fun to, like you said, use your boost or use the fast boost all the way to one side and then want to turn around, but then you can't, and it takes you like a good 10 seconds just to turn the boat around. Kind of feels like it feels slow, and so not a huge fan. The paper theater was definitely the best. It had like a story, which was really nice. It had those really nice visuals, and like you said, the puzzle gameplay was pretty unique. And once you kind of learn the system, it kind of made me want more. Like I did want to do more of them. I felt like there wasn't enough because it was really fun. But maybe other people who got frustrated with it maybe didn't do it, didn't like it that much. But I felt it was really nice. I never used the hint. I was really, really trying not to use hints, so I never used any hints.
Same.
But it was really fun to figure out, even when I got stuck. And in the Radiant Sparks, which was like the firework one of my favorite ones, just because like ever in Lantern Rite, just because it was like really fun. It feels good to go fast with like a purpose. Like you can see where you're gonna go, and then zip, and then boom, it shoots you upwards, and you get more speed boost, and then zip. So like it feels good to do it the way it was intended, and so I enjoyed that part about that quest specifically.
I think it's because I was using Hu Tao. It just looked funnier.
Oh great, I was using Yao Yao most of the time.
This is like, well, here's the thing. Like, this is the first time in like over a year, maybe even 2, that Hu Tao's been in a story.
I know, she even says
Since
in
her
the story,
release.
like she says like, oh, it's been a while since I've seen you.
Yeah, it's been like, I want to say close to 2 years. But so I've been using her team like the entire time, just because like there's reason to use Hu Tao now, and you can see like her personality. She's such a goofball. I love it.
Dude, Hu Tao's great. Like
She's
I get,
hilarious.
like you said, like it reminds me of how great Hu Tao is. Like this story was just so great.
All right, so you want to start off on like a story summary, like, you know, from how it began to how it ended, because I kind of like. Oh, it's hard to choose like a favorite part of this, because I do like some of the cutscenes, but I also kind of like the dinner portion. So
oh my god, okay,
you want to start on like a short recap?
Yeah, let's get started with a quick recap, because this was for me one of the best story events, like one of the most fun story events to do, like ever, like in the whole game so far.
For technically a side story, not main story, like all conquest, but like it's still an evolving like important part of like character background. It's definitely the best, you know, flushing out of history.
Yeah, what I really like was that in this story, a lot of characters interact with each other, and as the characters build, as we get more and more characters in Genshin, it's nice to see them interacting with each other instead of like random NPCs. So, so let me quickly summarize. So, in this story quest, there was 3 parts. There was part 1, which is 1,000 miles for an enigmatic tune. Part 2, a single harmony for an irreplaceable soul. And part 3, the epilogue. So in the first part, 1,000 miles for an enigmatic tune, we find Dvorak, which I don't understand how that's pronounced that way. But I'm not gonna question it right now. But maybe when we get to Fontaine, we'll see more crazy names.
Oh wait. Quick thing. Real quick thing. Voiced by Mr. Marco Meatball.
That's right. Yes. So that so
guy's
cool.
Great.
I played it in Japanese, but I went through one cutscene just to hear his voice in English. And when I play through it on my other account, I'll play through it in English. But yeah, it's really cool that he's just a music conductor like in this.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Marco Meatball is a guy on YouTube. He is an opera singer and voice actor, music enthusiast, especially for video games and like otaku culture, but likes to focus on like the musical soundtracks of a lot of famous video game stories, and does playthroughs, and especially loves Genshin music. And I believe he was the one who discovered the connection between the Harbingers and the real world connection of the Commedia dell'arte.
Commedia dell'arte.
Yeah,
right.
he made a video that says, hey, all these characters are exactly like this real world musical troupe, and that's kind of what got his channel a lot of attention, because people finally saw like, you know, the original inspiration. And, you know, music is great in Genshin. He loves the music, and he didn't start right away, but he made that video. Then people say, "Oh, you should play. You should play. The music's really good too." And so now he's just completely sucked into this world, and just yeah.
I mean, hey,
he's a
we
great guy, like,
we
super down to
referred to
earth.
his video when we did that episode about the Harbingers.
Mhm.
So
Oh, I love that episode. I still liked it.
yeah, so if you haven't already heard that, go ahead and give it a listen. It's about the Harbingers and that big cutscene that they had around Signora's death and how they all met up afterwards, and the music behind it and their history of the Harbingers. So, or like the inspiration for the Harbingers, according to Marco Meatball's interpretation. So, yeah, definitely check that out. But Marco Meatball made himself known in the Genshin community for his channel for analyzing the music, and now he got to voice act an NPC in a limited time event. I think that's so cool. I would love to do that one day. Maybe even be a playable character. But yeah, we'll see in the future like what other cool things happen. But for now, Marco Meatball is Dvorak, who is this music conductor, music passionate person from Fontaine who goes around to manage the Iridescent tour, which we have talked about in the story a couple times, usually revolving around Xinyan. And so the Iridescent tour is just a touring music troupe / concert that goes around. They perform in different places all over the world, all over Teyvat, and this year, it seems like a lot of people were not able to perform in different places. They were turned down for one reason or another. And they were thinking that maybe they could perform at Inazuma. It just happened to end up this way. And so there's a lot of things where you meet Dvorak, he's actually drowning, and then Yao Yao goes and saves him. Then you meet up with them, and you go to Liyue. And, sorry, I said Inazuma. I meant Liyue. So, you meet Yao Yao, you get Dvorak, go to Liyue, go to start talking to Ganyu, start talking to Kaching, and you learn about Dvorak has what he's actually doing is he's walking around looking for more information on his ancestor who happened to have met a fairy-like lady / creature that saved his life many years ago, like his ancestor, so generations ago. And turns out that maybe that actually happened, even though it was an old Fontaine legend. It happened in Liyue. And so when we look into that, we actually find out through the story that that one of the Adepti is one of the ones who actually saved him. So in this quest, you get to meet Zhongli, you get to see Yao Yao talk, Ganyu, Kaching, Yelan, just so many different people, and even Ningguang. So at the end of this first part, we decide, okay, so we're gonna have a Iridescent tour, we're gonna have a music festival event at the Lantern Rite Festival, and we're gonna have extra act at the very end, which is going to be like kind of the Iridescent tour people. It's like a music concert, like a classical concert almost. And so yeah, so they have that. They decide that that's the first part in 1,000 Miles for an Enigmatic Tune. The theme of this Lantern Rite is Sea Gazer, the Adeptus who lived in Liyue but died a long time ago. And more on that maybe later. But for the second part of the quest is a single harmony for an irreplaceable soul. Now, even though the story revolves around Dvorak, and this is why we're learning about this, it turns out that Guizhong, the person who made the Adepti, who made the ballistas, if you remember from the story, was also really
she didn't
great.
Make the Adepti. I don't want you to. I don't want anyone to mishear that. She did. It sounded like you said she made the Adepti.
No, the Adepti who made the ballista.
She made. I know, but like the word order was like she made the Adepti.
Okay, so Guizhong is an Adepti who made the
yes.
Guizhong ballistas, which if you remember, and so she is old friends with the Cloud Retainer, Zhongli, all the Adepti, and she specifically had a really good friend who is known as the Street Rambler, who is also Madam Ping. And we learned so much about the history of Madam Ping, about the Cloud Retainer and Guizhong and their relationship, and how Guizhong was like this bright, creative, like amazing, talented adepti, and who was like basically always known for her kindness to brighten the room. And she actually perished during the Archon War in battle. And so just the other people were distraught, the other adepti were distraught, especially Cloud Retainer and Madam Ping, who were the closest with Guizhong. So I mean, we could probably do a whole episode just about these adepti. Maybe we will. But in this case, we learned that it was actually Madam Ping, the streetward rambler who was really well versed in music, who had saved Dvorak's ancestor a long time ago in Liyue. And so because of that, looking into that information, we learn about the story about these adeptus and what their relationship is. We learn about Madam Ping. We learn that Madam Ping, as an adeptus, decided that she wants to be this present form, this like old lady form, and that a lot of that is because of how she felt after her basically best friend died in the Archon War. And you see a lot of reflection on these basically gods who never die or just have super long lives until they die from something. Like I know one of the themes that they were talking about was like, even though that they're the adepti always see humans as like this flame that can just like turn on and turn off, like extinguish, like one it can be turned on 1 second and then extinguish the next, because that's how short their lives are compared to the adeptus. The adeptus could be the same in a way, because all of a sudden an adeptus could die for some reason, like this war that happened. And it was really interesting to see how they coped or didn't cope. Like Cloud Retainer basically never moved on and was always trying to avoid the subject, but Madam Ping or Street Rambler tried to move on, tried to see life go on and to be grateful for every day and help others. And so that's why she became Madam Ping, and she lives among the humans and in Liyue Harbor, and just so many cool,
she made the song
interesting
too,
things.
Right?
She did make the song. So
She made a song.
well, she
Only
made the
played it
song.
once.
She made the song. So
Mhm.
the story of like how she saved Dvorak's ancestor was that she was inspired by Guizhong, her best friend who passed away, to create a song for her, but she only ever played it once. And that one time she played it, of course, it's filled with sadness and longing and love. And then Dvorak's ancestor actually like was listening to it, like he heard it when he was walking by, and then he walked into a river or something, kind of like Dvorak, and like he was drowning, and then the Street Rambler saved him. And so that's like this whole thing about the one time she played it was the time that Dvorak's ancestor came. And the only other time she played it is this time when Dvorak was playing in the concert. So it's like this really interesting like come full circle moment for like both of their histories, for like all the characters involved in that story, which is really interesting. And we also,
and while we're on this, before I wanted to share one quick thing. So for those of you, if you watched like the little cutscene in the game, I mean, I hope everyone got to see that, but they also posted it on the Genshin Impact official YouTube channel. But the weird thing is they posted it like immediately, like when the patch or when the weekly story was available.
Yep, they always do that.
Or like yeah. So they did it immediately. So if you didn't get to play it in the game yet, they already just showed the cutscene on YouTube. The character model for Guizhong, if you compare it to the character model of the Harbinger Sandrone, the one that's being carried by the big mechanical, construct thing, look almost exactly identical. I don't know if that's intentional or I don't know, that's coincidental. It just seems a little interesting that Guizhong was known for her prowess at creating mechanical objects, and the Harbinger is carried by a mechanical object. and looks the same. It just thought it was pretty interesting parallel.
Who's
Maybe we will
Sandrone?
see that. Oh, sorry. The
Marionette,
the
right?
little- The Marion. I
Yeah,
think that's her
Sandrone.
title.
Sandrone.
Sandrone is the name. I think Sandrone was technically the name of the big mechanical puppet. I'm still remembering Marco's.
Oh, I mean, I'm
Marco's
looking
video,
at it right now.
but
So
Sandrone was-
Sandrone is also known by her codename Marionette, is the 7th of the 11th Victoria Harbingers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Sandrone is accompanied by what appears to be Sandrone is accompanied by what appears to be a modified version of a rune machine indicated by symbols all over its body. So, yeah. So
Interesting little parallel there.
yeah. So I guess they kind of look similar, but I don't to be honest, like I don't think they look similar enough to be the same. I guess they're really similar.
Hair color, height, hairstyle, just of course a little bit different clothing, obviously, but they both are known to
Oh my
have
god, Kahi.
mechanical ability.
Kahi. What if Sandrone is also a puppet? What if she's Guizhong's
That's
body?
what I'm thinking.
That's crazy.
Just
okay.
like how you have Baal, Beelzebub, 'cause
Okay,
it's possible to create a mechanical body.
at first I was like, no way, but now that I just look at them like side by side, they're like way too similar.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like only like the hair is slightly different, like points inwards. So I think that would be a
The two
mistake
strands,
on their
the
part.
two long bangs.
Yeah, I think it'd be a mistake on their part if they made these characters accidentally look way too similar. But if they're connected, that would be so interesting. Man. Okay. Well, let us know what you think let us know in the Discord, because that is a really really interesting theory. So I have not looked into that theory, but we will look into more of these theories. So that's an interesting point. Speaking of cutscenes, during that iridescent tour where Madam Ping plays the song, actually at the beginning of that event, Hu Tao and Xinyan do a rap and a song, and it's very very cool. I really really enjoyed that. What did you think of that, Kahi?
I tried. It's fun, but from a music perspective, I don't know if I agree with the whole delivery of the performance.
When you watched it in Japanese?
Matches their personality. Yeah.
Yeah.
I kept seeing clips of like the other languages, and
I didn't see the other languages yet.
it's all right.
Oh man, I really really
It's
liked it.
lighthearted.
Yeah, I really liked it. I mean,
It was
I
cool
love
when it
I
just
always
seemed
love this
little-
Japanese like
Mm.
yo 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 rap. Like it's so adorable.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
It's so wholesome. But
It reminds me of
it's
of Chica
In its
from
own
from
Oh, the Chica dance. Yep.
what's it called? Love
Love
is
is
War.
War.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Oh my god. Yo da yo, yeah, yo yo yo, rap da yo. Rap is life da yo. Yeah.
Oh man, you just reminded me. Like they had like the actual
The ending?
rapping performance.
Yeah, the
with
ending thing.
Shirogane. Yeah, the ending.
Yeah.
That was so good.
It was so well
That
animated
was
for no
ridiculously
reason.
good. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
By one guy.
Yeah, it's so good, dude. I can't even imagine just sitting there and working on that. Okay, so yeah, so that's basically the quest. As you're trying to figure out what happened to Dvorak's ancestor, you find out about Madam Ping, the Cloud Retainer, the Street Rambler. Oh wait, you find out about Cloud Retainer, Guizhong, and Madam Ping and their history, and
You saw their human forms.
you get to see their human forms in a really cool cutscene. And man, people are freaking out over Cloud Retainer and how she basically like looks like Bayonetta. I think she looks like Fu from Honkai, so I think if that kind of checks out. But yeah, they're really really cool. Their designs are very, Liyue, ancient Liyue. And we also learned that Zhongli's clothes were made by another Adepti, and I forgot his name, but he never wore those clothes until
Mountain
after the
Shipper?
Archon
Mountain
War.
Carver?
No, it was the outfit that he wears now was designed by General Capisas, which is one of the adept, one of the yakshas. One of the yakshas had a hobby of designing intricately beautiful clothes, and Rex Lapis was quite fond of Kapisas designs and collected many for his own wardrobe, including the suit he wears in his mortal form today. So, one of the yakshas. That's why Shao knew, because it was a yaksha that did it. Yeah, we should do an episode on Adepti and yakshas, like, eventually, because I think that we learned a lot from this quest. Maybe after the desert one we can do that. But yeah, so that was like the main story. Those part 1 and part 2. And yeah, it was really fun. They did a music concert. We learned a lot about the Adepti. And then we have the epilogue, which is one of my favorite scenes in all of Genshin so far. And it's just a room, a big dinner table full of playable characters talking to each other. And some of them are characters we don't get to see that much. And we get to see characters interact for the first time. A lot of different characters interact for the first time. So, okay, so let's get into this, okay? So first was so after the performance, so basically during the performance, Zhongli couldn't come because Zhongli was spending time with his Adeptus friends on one of the mountains. And Hu Tao cooking. And Hu Tao invited him to a banquet and also invited the traveler. And we didn't have any idea of who would show up. So then when we get there to the banquet, there's actually Xingqiu, Xiangling, and Chongyun. And we get there, I think, right after Zhongli gets there. So it's really great because we just get to see, first of all, Xingqiu and Chongyun the whole time are just like, they're like, best friends or more or whatever. And we don't know for sure, but, they're always having funny banter with each other. And there's Xiangling without Guoba because Guoba is actually taking care of the restaurant while Xiangling is coming to this dinner party, which sucks, but it is what it is. Zhongli is there. And then Hu Tao shows up and brings Shao. So we have Hu Tao, Shao, Zhongli, Xingqiu, Xiangling, Chongyun, and then Venti shows up, who was also kind of, I think he was invited, but it was just the craziest cutscene. I don't want to I don't know about spoilers, but it was just so worth watching. Definitely if you missed this event, watch the cutscene on YouTube. It was hilarious. It's so much joking and so much interactions between the characters, like how Chongyun always looked up to and always talks about Shao because Shao and Chongyun, Chongyun's family comes from exorcists, and Shao's basically the ultimate exorcist. He destroys demons, the conqueror of demons, and we get to see a lot of really interesting interactions between them, between Xingqiu and Chongyun, between Xiangling and the three of them, between everybody, between Venti and everybody. It's so funny because the whole time, Shao, Zhongli, and Venti all and Traveler, of course, all know their real identities. So Shao
super
knows
subtle,
Venti is Barbados,
and conversation, yeah.
And the funny thing is that Zhongli has to pretend it's the first time he's met everybody. So he's like, oh, nice to meet you. I've heard about you. And same for Venti. He's like, oh, I don't know who you are. And then Venti's like, oh, I think I've heard of you. You're this really, really smart guy from Liyue or whatever. And then you came to Mondstadt and went to the biggest bar, or you went to the best bar in Mondstadt and ordered a hot tea instead of a drink. And he's like, oh, I think I've heard of you. You're that bard that everyone says is so amazing. And it was just really, really funny. There was a lot of comedic moments. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't already seen it. And yeah, I definitely enjoyed every moment of that. There was a lot of things that they talked about when it comes to Shao and how he feels about being around people, about how he feels during the Lantern Rite, and his worries. And Zhongli, Venti, and Shao just really, really, and it was really interesting. they're dynamic. So I think that my favorite was just watching them all banter with each other. What did you feel about this whole scene, Kahi?
Just the whole character dynamic between everyone there. It's like watching a party. You know everyone, and everyone's getting along, and everyone's having like conversations that everyone can be a part of. It's so great. This whole event was just fun in all kinds of directions. Um, Interesting thing, like you kind of knew from Zhao's story during the chasm, but you know, like Zhao does regard Zhongli as kind of like a mentor or master, but you really got that sense when he started to talk directly, you know, to him.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
you never see Xiao like break his character or personality. He sometimes lets it leak through like his concern or his worry, but like when he's talking with Zhongli, he has like the utmost like respect. Like he's watching what he says. Like he kind of stutters a little bit. He's like trying to be respectful, and Zhongli's just stoic as hell, just talking direct, just you know making an observation, sharing a little bit of wisdom. And Zhao really has this profound sense of respect for this guy, which is nice to kind of
Yeah.
see Zhao break out of his shell here and there.
I
More
mean,
getting
it's
more.
also to be expected, right? Because
Yeah.
he created him.
Hmm.
So you know.
Well, yeah. So
Yeah.
he knows like where he stands as far as the
Dad.
hierarchy. But then for Zhongli, but for Zhongli to now say, well, technically you outrank me now, and he's like, what? No, no, no. I would never think of that. But he is
That was
technically
great.
right. Zhongli
Yeah.
no longer is. He technically is no longer Rex Lapis, and he's not like the main protector.
Well,
He's just
that's the
kind of
funny
in the
thing is
same
he
area.
technically is. Like he technically is. He is the watcher
Technically, yeah.
of Liyue until he dies. And I was watching some things about lore where they're like history has the Tevat has a way of, or maybe Celestia or whatever, but fate has a way of always quickly reassigning the next Archon if someone perishes. But until that Archon is gone, they are the Archon. Like technically, as they are alive, they are the Archon. So even if he decides not to do anything specifically to rule, he is the Archon. But you know, he can also decide like, you know, I'm not gonna do any Archon responsibilities. Like you know, he can do whatever. So
Well,
yeah.
my worry is that, I mean, if that was like the rule for this whole time, I'm assuming that's because the Gnosis was still in effect and still in play and not taken away and like, you know, given to someone else or being collected in another area. If there were several Archons, was there ever a time where their Gnosis was like stripped from them? I don't think so.
I don't think so, but
So I
apparently
mean, if
Gnosis.
Zhongli like passes, is there going to be another Geo? This is just, you know, I'm thinking like, if the Gnosis is no longer in play and the previous Geo Archon passes away, will there be another Geo Archon, even though they have been separated from that Gnosis? That's just what I'm thinking. Like,
So apparently,
that mechanic has been broken.
So the Gnosis thing is really hard to understand, but according to the way that people understand, like a lot of theory crafters and stuff, understand that Gnosis's work, is that it's kind of like a, how can I say, like a conductor of celestial level elemental power. So without the Gnosis, they can still manipulate the elements very, very well, but they can't use their godlike powers without their Gnosis. Like that helps them connect to Celestia directly as an Archon. So I think, from the way I understand it, like Archons, I don't think they can use each other's Gnosises, but when they don't have their Gnosis, they're at the power level that they are when they join us. Basically, like Zhongli can still make a boulder appear from the sky, and Raiden can still, you know, make a eternity plane or whatever. But the powers that they had or that they could have are tied to the Gnosis, and just because they don't have them doesn't mean they're not powerful. It just means they're not as attuned with Celestia, which is where the source of all their powers and elemental powers supposedly come from. So there's still a lot we don't know about Gnosis yet, but as far as I understand it, the Archons were chosen to be the Archons for a specific reason, and no one has like given up the title of Archon to an extent where like someone else becomes Archon. Like Zhongli probably would give up his Archon status if he could and give it to just someone else, or just, you know, not or just eliminate it completely. But I don't think he can. So I think he is just the Archon. He's like the acting Archon. But we'll find out. This is just what people have crafted theory-wise from the information that we know so far. But I don't think we will truly know the answer to this question until we get to Celestia and we get answers. But it's interesting, right? Like, he says, hey, I'm not the Archon anymore, so don't address me like an Archon anymore. I'm just a mortal. And he's not. Like, he's no more mortal than Xiao is, but he's just decided, hey, I'm a mortal now. Call me like a mortal would call me. Or like call me like you would talk to a mortal. So, you know.
I think Zhao is technically immortal or just really lives a really long time.
Right. See, the Adepti are all like that. I don't
Probably
think
not immortal.
I don't think we've heard of an Adepti dying of old age yet. You know? I think they've all just been alive.
Oh, I mean, Madam Ping has been alive for a while.
Yeah, but she apparently, and they said this in the story quest, the reason that she appears as an old lady is because that's how she wants to appear. Like, she could appear, she could appear younger if she wanted to, but she doesn't, because I think this is a reflection of her feeling of time passing since her friend died, which is kind of what you can learn, or like what you can infer from this Lantern Rite story, which is why this story is so important. I think that they really need to come up with a way to be able to see these stories in game sooner than later, because there's so much important stuff here, so much voice acting that also goes to waste if you never get to see it.
Yep.
Like,
even Yao Yao was mentioning, I just remember from her trailer that there's a lot of other Adeptus that we just aren't seeing, because apparently she can see them, or she's friendly enough, or like she has a relationship with them already where they feel comfortable sharing with Yao Yao. So I'm sure like in the future we could have more Adeptus characters come out. I mean, we're going to revisit Li Wei, obviously, because we keep revisiting Li Wei after so many patches.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, there's more characters to look forward to. I just hate how they keep doing this thing where they introduce really cool character art, never use them, some die straight up.
I dude, like the Yakshas is the worst example of this. It's like the Yakshas, A's group of friends, like Raiden's group of friends, like just all characters we see with these really vibrant, cool designs. The other Oni, yeah. So like, man, it's kind of crazy that they have so many of these nice designs just tucked away in a corner somewhere. Like, but yeah, so okay, so here we are. So that's the Lantern Rite story. I mean, overall, it was a really deep dive into Li Wei's lore, into the lore of the Adeptus, into the relationships between certain characters that we haven't actually gotten to see yet. And even though there were a lot of characters interacting in a funny way, we still got to see, you know, how they would act in this specific situation, and it's something that we haven't even come close to seeing before. Like, so I think it was really cool to see all these, like I said, playable characters interacting with each other at the end, and in even this whole thing with Madam Ping, like really, really important NPC, Cloud Retainer, really, really important NPC. We learned so much about them. So even about Zhongli, we learned about, you know, how he played a part in all this. So I really, really enjoyed it. What would you say? Any final thoughts on the Lantern Rite?
Probably the most eventful, as far as like mini games, as well as multiple stories, multiple characters, voices, interactions. This is probably the most full an event like this has felt. So I definitely enjoyed it and it has everything. It has something for everyone. Whether you're a story enthusiast, whether you're a character enthusiast, whether you're just like a gameplay enthusiast. I mean, it has something for everyone. And they give you free character. They give you free, you know, level up materials, talent materials, like always. But I feel like it was just stuffed with a lot of content for a limited time event, which still kind of sucks that people aren't able to experience all of the past ones. It's still really good.
Okay, so moving on, we will talk about Haitham's story, which is called Vulture Volans. I don't know. It's called Vulture Volan, And the overall quest is the first act is called The Illusions of the Mob. So we will talk about a quick summary, and then we'll talk about our thoughts of the story overall. Okay? Sound good, Kai?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, so basically, this takes off right after the previous Archon quest or interlude quest, where Haitham is now acting Grand Sage after everything that happened with the Wanderer, Scaramouche, and the Akasha being gone, and the sages, the Grand Sage being put out of commission. Basically, the scribe of the Academia, Haitham, who is also known for his objectiveness and fairness and genius, basically, is now the acting Grand Sage. So he's not permanently the Grand Sage, but he is acting as Grand Sage for the time being. And there's a lot of different things going on in the Academy right now, where the Academia, the Academia, there's a lot of things going on there where there's a lot of uncertainty around who the next Grand Sage is going to be, whether it's going to change the way a lot of the projects are done. So the scholars are having trouble getting into their groove. Not to mention, the Akasha is gone now, so there's no way for them to just instantly look up all the information. They don't have internet anymore, so they have to look up everything by books manually, and it has really dropped the motivation.
I never looked at it like that.
Yeah, they don't have internet anymore,
sad
dude.
when you put it that way.
They're analog, so they have to look up all this information manually in books and stuff, and it's dropped the motivation for a lot of scholars who are wanting to start their own projects. Most people are waiting to just start in a new project made by a well-known researcher, for example. So a lot of throughout this story, you learn about the state of the Academia. You learn about how people feel about Haitham, and you learn specifically about Siraj, who is a scholar who came into the Academia around the same time as Haitham, and he wanted to experiment on human evolution and creating a hive mind consciousness with a bunch of different people connected to one person as the overmind, basically the leader, and everybody would work for this queen bee basically as a mindless drone. And so he had this idea a long time ago, but Haitham was brought in as a consultant, and he said that this is not only does this go against principles of the Academia, it wouldn't work, it's too unstable, and basically his proposal for research is rejected, and Siraj goes instead to, of course, not being able to accept this, he finds a way to go behind the sages' backs and start building his project outside of the Academia, in the middle of the forest somewhere. And he convinces people to join him to be his worker drones, basically. And so the short version of a long story is he gets this guy named Ilyas, who is found in the Academia with memory loss, and he basically has this plan to get Ilyas to bring the traveler, but mostly Haitham to the hive mind, the hive area, which is outside of the Academia. And we go through a lot of things, finding out more about Ilyas, about his memory loss, about Ilyas's family, and throughout all of this, we basically are assuming that Ilyas is helping us to find Siraj, to stop him and stop his project. But actually, it was part of the plan that Siraj had to bring Haitham to the hive to get rid of him, because he was the biggest obstacle in his path. But it turns out Haitham from the very beginning knew everything, and he set up this whole plan to fail from the beginning, because that's the kind of character Haitham is. He's smart, objective, he's basically Sherlock Holmes, and it's really, really interesting to see how he undoes Siraj's whole plan. And so I could go into the details. I think it's better to just play it, because this is something you can play at any time. and there's a lot of small details that actually don't have to do with the greater story, but the actual story itself is very contained within this Al Haitham story. A lot of these characters don't really connect to other characters outside of here. The only thing that's really important, I think, to know that comes out of this is that after we foil Siraj's plan, we arrest him and all the people that were involved in his scheme. Sino comes and arrests him because it's not Al Haitham's job to arrest people as the Grand Sage, but it is the Dai Mahamatra, the Grand Mahamatra, or whatever they're called. And so Sino comes in, arrests the guys, take him away, and then Al Haitham announces that he announced to the Traveler, but he is resigning from being acting Grand Sage, and he wants to just go back to being the Scribe because he doesn't want to become the Grand Sage permanently. He doesn't want to deal with the responsibility, and there was, just something. Basically, he was just interested in finding out how people thought of him as acting Grand Sage and how the state of the academia is, and that's why he even decided to go on this whole journey with the Traveler and deal with this problem of Siraj. So basically, just the whole thing was according to Siraj's plan, but actually according to Al Haitham's plan. And then at the end, we see Kaveh, who is not yet playable, but is most likely going to be playable very soon. Character who is this blonde guy who is Al Haitham's roommate, who we met in a different cutscene at the end of the last Archon quest. And I think it was actually more of a hidden cutscene. Like, you had to, once you left the area, you had to go back in and see Al Haitham arguing with Kaveh. And so if you haven't seen that cutscene yet, I recommend you go check it out. Kahi, did you see that cutscene?
The one at the end?
Yeah, the one where like they're arguing with each other, like in the academia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the weird thing is, like, the way it positions your character, like right when you came out of the cutscene, maybe it was just me and how my character was like facing already. I walk forward like not even like 1 meter, and it already put me back into the same cutscene again.
Oh, so yeah, so
like,
same.
Even after the cutscene's done, you can walk back into it.
Yeah, I watched it
the
second time too on accident. I did it on stream yesterday actually. But no, I meant not this time. At the end of the last Archon quest, when Al Haitham is known as acting Grand Sage, your character's positioned outside of the main hall, but you can actually walk in and see Kaveh and Al Haitham arguing over something. Like, you're not involved in the cutscene at all. It's similar to like the one you're talking about at the end of this cutscene, at the end of this quest, but it was the first time you met him. So when you first walk into him and meet them this time, Paimon says something like, "Oh, you're that guy from that one time." If you never did that cutscene, you don't know what she's talking about, actually. Or like, you see him briefly, I think, in the story quest, but you don't actually see him talking to Al Haitham or arguing with Al Haitham unless you walk in again and see that cutscene. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out. But yeah, at the end of this cutscene, also at the end of this story, also there is an extra cutscene where once the story is over, if you walk back in towards them, you can activate this cutscene, and you can do that as many times as you want. And I did it twice on accident as well, because actually I wanted to. One of the followers on the stream said, "Hey, you should use Nahida, because if you use Nahida, you can scan people's thinking during certain parts of this." So I wanted to scan Al Haitham and Kaveh, and because, like you said, when you start out by the door, if you want to scan them, you have to stay at the door. You can actually do it, and they actually have different things that they're thinking, which is really interesting. So I recommend that. I have it on stream too. If you want to see it on my stream, at the very end of my stream, I was able to scan them and see what they're talking about. But like, it's just one of those cool things where Nahida's ability, you miss out on extra voice lines, on extra in context and story if you don't have Nahida, which is really interesting to me. But it's not, none of it's necessary information, but it's always nice flavor text to like see what they're thinking inside, and that's voice acting is like extra treat. But yeah, I mean, it was really interesting. We got to learn a lot about Al Haitham, the way he thinks, how smart he is, how he is perceived throughout the academia, a little bit about his enemies and why people are his enemies, and then we actually learned about how the academia works a little bit, as well as Kaveh and his relationship to Al Haitham a little bit more. It's still kind of similar to like Chung Yun and Xing Cho. Like we don't know like the deep aspects of their relationship, but they are clearly close enough to be where they are. And there's a lot of suggested stuff, but basically Kaveh and Al Haitham live together, and Kaveh's like, hey, don't tell anybody I live here. So so what did you think of this quest overall? Like the story, like did you have any favorite parts or the most interesting parts? What do you think, Kahi?
This is weird that this is the most memorable moment because it feels like a very straightforward story. Like, you know, there's mystery, you're unraveling it, you're finding out where the bad guy's hideout is. But I'm like, when you go into the little mini domain, you're like, I wonder what enemies we're gonna fight here. Maybe we're gonna fight some eremites, or are we gonna fight some like maybe some like one people. New enemy that, you know, is like mechanical. And then no, like you go through the cave and oh hey look, mushrooms.
Dude, that was hey, so funny. So that was like I was also so like good. I was like what? I did this on stream, right? Come on, I did this whole thing on stream. Really? And as a joke, right before those fungi showed up, I said, what are we gonna like fight fungi connected to the hive mind or something? We did. Yes. And then like because like if they just made fungi, I was like, okay, fungi, sure. But then he said they're also connected to the hive mind, but I made them the lowest. I was like, oh my god, that's so funny. Oh my god.
Eremites make sense. Even maybe like at least maybe one ruin guard might make sense. Because you don't want like, you know, sentient life to somehow like get, you know, absorb mixed in with the hive mind and give it like weird data. Yeah. But no, you just get mushrooms.
Dude,
you
that's get so funny. That's so funny.
Why?
I didn't even realize how funny that was.
It was hilarious, but I'm like, it's just hilariously dumb. So I'm not mad at it. I'm disappointed, but I'm amused at the same time. So
yeah, which is, you know, it's all right. Oh, that was good.
Yeah. So I mean, everything was pretty straightforward. Like the Lantern Rite had more substance than this story. I'm just gonna say straight up, it's a cool story.
So,
but I like Lantern Rite.
Like I said yesterday, I was doing for 7 hours on stream. I did for the first 6 hours. I did the world quest with the Eternal Oasis, and then I did the Al Haitham quest right after, and the Al Haitham quest was so straightforward and had nothing to do with anything except that one situation. And I was just like, wow, this is really easy. Like I basically just walked from one point to one point, talked to someone most of the time, and fought one time. You know what I mean? There was like a small puzzle. Well,
that's how these quests go. I mean, it's mostly story driven.
True, but like, you know, like I was expecting to learn a little bit more about Al Haitham and like his history, etc., etc. But actually, we learned about how he is as a character. So we didn't really learn about his background per se. I mean, a little bit like that. Like when he came to the academia, he decided to be a scribe. Just decided to be a scribe instead of like a researcher. Okay, well we knew that already. And you know, we don't know about his history, like where he comes from, if that even matters. Or like what his plans are going forward besides not being the Grand Sage. I guess that's the biggest thing that happened, is that he was acting Grand Sage when this quest started, and then he resigned when it ended. Like, but that it just feels like nothing happened, to be honest. It feels like it was all one big cutscene.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I honestly, for me, the most interesting part was the end with Kaveh, because like Kaveh, like I said, I love when they show characters that interact that are actually playable, because then when we play as them, we can imagine these situations between these characters and how they're involved with each other, instead of like just random NPCs all the time. So I'm glad at least there were some playable characters, like even Sino showing up at the end to arrest the guy was like nice. I was like, are they gonna show Sino, or are they just gonna imply it that that like Sino's gonna come take him away? So yeah, I think it was. The cutscene was pretty cool too, you know, like where he throws his sword into the machine or whatever, and the guy's falling into like a weird warp zone area, and all this stuff. But it also, again, nothing happened. actually nothing happened. So yeah, it was nice to be able to hear Al Haitham talk a bunch and get to see his like sassiness and his like smartness at the same time. I like how there's like one line I saw someone posted on Twitter before, but I actually saw it in the game when we played it. But he says like maybe you should learn to learn to not care what other people think, and then you don't have to deal with all these like social relationships or something like that. And it was like,
Oh wait, yeah.
yeah,
What is it? My strength is
my strength.
I don't
Yeah,
care about what other
my
people's-
strength is I don't care
what
about other
others think.
people. It's
Mhm.
really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that's how I feel
Yeah,
too.
but
Pretty
interesting
straightforward.
story.
Yeah, just wanted
I
to.
don't know if I want a part 2 to this one. I mean, some characters have a part 2. Like I know, Raiden Shogun has a part 2.
Yeah, but Raiden Shogun's part
Does
2 is
Zhongli have a part
important.
two?
Like her, you have to play it like
Yeah.
to unlock her boss. And I don't think
Right.
Zhongli has a part 2, but I mean I want a part 2.
Zhao has a part 2.
I want a part 2 because I want something else about Al Haitham. Like I want there to be something interesting happening because now that he's not the acting Grand Sage, what like is there something else that could happen that causes him to be in a more interesting situation? Because it wouldn't be something he does willingly, it would be something that happens around him. So maybe we find out he has family or something he cares about outside of the academia, and they're threatened, and so he has to go save them. And
Like
so we learn more about
motivations,
we
right.
learn more about his motivations and his character in general. That would be nice, but you know, whatever. He's like, for all intents and purposes at this point, he's eye candy. So I mean, slap a
Pretty much.
slap a 5-star rating on him, give him a straightforward story, and just like say, here everybody, look at him. I was looking at TikToks I was just searching Genshin on TikTok and looking at Genshin TikToks, and there was this TikTok that had like 300,000 views, and it was just Al Haitham's normal attack pattern in slow motion with like, oh yeah, like music in the background. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? Oh man, it was so good. Okay, anyway,
When people's thirst can't be quenched.
yeah, exactly. It was.
Gonna choose heavy plays.
Here's what I'll say. It was a story. It was a story, and also Sevi plays up there, the biggest Al Haitham simps on the market. It's like, self-proclaimed. I'm not even like calling her one out of like, in negativity or whatever. Like she says,
Yeah, this is not like a tease at all. Like
Yeah.
self-proclaimed.
self-proclaimed
You know,
biggest Al Haitham simp.
Twitter name.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So it's funny. I love to see people reacting like that. But that's what I love about the community. Like they do these like fun and funny things, and all the characters are great, and it's just the whole game is pretty wholesome overall, and the community is just funny when it comes to a lot of this stuff. So I really enjoy Genshin for partially because of this reason, and that's why I wanted to do the podcast and get into the community aspect of it, because it's just so great. So, and there's a lot more things coming forward, like lore talks and things that we'll be doing on podcasts, off podcast, and I'll be doing some other things around the community too. You might see me pop up around here and there. I'll mention it when it comes up, but I definitely want to get more involved in the community, and us as a podcast to be more involved in the community, or you guys to be more involved with us. Like we were talking about in the Discord, asking us what kind of content, or we're asking you what kind of content you want to see. If you want to help us decide what our episode will be about, if you want us to test out a funny build or look into a certain lore aspect. These lore learn-alongs that we had before, I mentioned an Adepti episode, a something else episode, I don't know, Fatui. We can do another Fatui episode with more information once we have more information. Like, let us know in the Discord what you want to hear, and we will definitely look into it and see if we can make it part of the show. Okay, so that story, pretty short. Now let's go on to our last segment of the day, which is the community discussion question. So, Kahi, what was our question last week?
Who would be the best addition to Beto's pirate crew? And so this one, I know it's a question that was on everyone's mind. The best addition to Beto's pirate crew. Before I say mine, Josh, what do you think is the character that would most likely be in her crew?
I don't know about most likely be in her crew, but I think best addition to her crew would be, who I want to see would be Nilu.
Nilu?
Ta-da.
Okay, why Nilu?
Yeah, because they need a dancer for morale, and I want to see Nilou wearing pirate clothes. So, why not?
The princess of the Alcor.
Yes, I love it.
Yeah. Okay, well, here's the thing.
What about you, Kai?
I thought about this for a very long time, and of course, there's like the answer that I
Of course you
want,
did.
but then there's the answer that actually makes more sense. I looked
Okay,
at
do
all
both.
the
I want to
characters,
know
and I'm
both.
like, which one? Okay, the one that I want would be Dea, just because, great sword users. She actually wants a sense of adventure, and they're both kind of like mercenaries in a way, like, weapons or muscle for hire. That'd be great. However, I think the best addition would be Amber. Couple reasons why. So Amber definitely knows her stuff. She's a good scout. Very well versed in a lot of protocols. She's like very good. I believe she's a good navigator. She has like that. Well, she's with the scouting troop with the Knights of Favonius. However, she also has a good lookout ability. She has a sense of adventure in that regard. She also has her what is it called, Baron Bunny, that can be used as like a depth charge. She can like toss it overboard, which attracts like fish or attracts enemies and just like explodes in the water. So yeah, Amber, because she doesn't seem like she would be bored on a ship. She doesn't seem like she would be like ill-suited for the task, because you have to keep in mind you're on a boat. You're going to be doing a lot of manual labor. You're going to be going through times where you probably aren't going to have as much freedom and fun as you would want. So I wanted, honestly, a lot of people might be seeing other types of characters, but I feel like you got to keep in mind like the mentality you have to be on a pirate ship for an extended period of time. You have to know how to keep yourself entertained, keep yourself sane, and just occupied, and help like build the morale of everyone else on the crew. So Beto, is the captain, kind of keeps everyone together. Kazuha is more free spirited, but has enough calm and has the mindset that can last for a while. But yeah, that's the character that I thought would be a good little addition. Josh, what was yours? Who did you say would be a good fit?
Wait, I think I said already. I said Nilou.
Yeah, Nilou. But like, Nilou, was there like a particular reason why, other than just being like the dancer, or just should add like life to the boat?
Okay, so I mean, I was thinking about it as like best edition, meaning like I was thinking along the lines of personally, like who would I want to see on Beto's crew.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the person that I would pick if I thought would be like the best part of her crew would be someone like Xinyan, maybe. I mean, I know we see them together before, but
yeah,
I just think I like the idea of like adding entertainment value and like to the long journeys on the ship, and so like having someone and Xinyan's kind of super go with the flow, and she's tough. So I think she would be perfect I think she would be like a perfect partner for Beto as like a part of her crew.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, because the value of having that kind of entertainment, or that happy-go-lucky attitude. Yeah, I can see that. Let's get into the community answers. So we have, first of all, Primo Gem is God says Fischl and Kaya for the eye patch. Makes sense. And please do more Whose Voice line, please. Yes, we definitely are going to keep that up for as long as we can. We'll probably evolve it later on, but the voice line game is actually really fun. I like thinking about them, analyzing it, seeing what the match could be. It's also nice hearing what they sound like in other languages.
Yeah, we'll do more soon.
Rangtang. Yeah, we'll definitely. Rangtang, probably Aloy, so she can be involved in the story. Yes, she needs to be in the story somehow. Not just some PlayStation exclusive token character.
Oh my god, as a trip, as a part of the crew would be great.
Yeah, like we fished her out of the water. We have like no idea where she came from. I just realized that'd be a funny parallel to like how you found Paimon at the beginning. You fished her out of the water. Alright, next up we have Pimzol Balto. I think Kuki would be a great addition to Beto's crew because she could take responsibility for the crew if Beto is gone. Kuki is probably the most responsible character of like all of them, aside from the ones who are actually in positions of responsibility and like, you know, power. But yeah, Kuki is just super level-headed, knows what to do, is like strong in her own right, but also is like what keeps her whole gang together anyways. So she basically runs Arataki Ito's gang for him. So I can see that. Next up we have Todoroki Shoto. Shenhe. Shenhe on Beto's pirate crew. I don't know if I can see it. Can you see that, Josh?
Well, considering
What do you
Shenhe
think?
showed that she can stop tsunamis, maybe I guess so.
You know, that would be good, yeah. Like a big wave incoming,
In
she
like a
just like stops
stormy,
the wave.
like a stormy
Mhm.
weather, she can like protect the crew, I guess, by just freezing everything.
Yeah, that could work. Good utility. Oh, and she doesn't eat a lot too, so she wouldn't, she wouldn't like take a lot of rations away. Yeah, that could work. Next up, Blackbird says Fischl is great for fighting long distance. I'm sure you guys are more experienced, but she's a great backup. Also, love the Pokemon team. Yeah, last week we were talking about like funny teams, like with Yao Yao and Fischl
Yeah.
and Guoba. You know, having like a full-on Pokemon team. I would love to do that, but I gotta build up characters that I don't have leveled up yet. Next up, Octira. The kids from Liyue. They have more pirate experience than anyone I know. I kind of like that idea, but at the same time, like kids on like a boat on a long expedition, especially with like if like one mistake happens or something breaks, you're affecting the whole boat. I see it, but I don't know if I will completely agree. What
Wow,
do you
two
think,
people
Josh?
said the kids. What?
Yeah, Octira and Nocto Macello, the kids from Liyue Pirate Commission. And the
That's
non-Genshin
so
person would be
funny.
Captain Jack Sparrow. That'd be funny. Yeah,
Uh,
any pirate would love Captain Jack Sparrow.
Dude,
But yeah, the
Captain Jack
kids
Sparrow and
from
Beto would just be
Liyue,
fighting all the time.
they outdrink each other. Okay, so how about yeah? Next up, what is this? How do you say it? Noctophile? Yeah, Nyctophile or something. Sorry if I mispronounced it. I feel like Yao Yao. Okay, Yao Yao on a pirate crew. Don't know if I think Yao Yao is too precious. I don't want anything to happen to Yao Yao out there at open sea.
Kahi,
She
I
needs to
just
stay
want to
on land
say
with all the
how
Adeptus.
I love how seriously you're considering all these answers.
Well, I have to see what makes sense. I mean, you're talking about a pirate crew, the greatest pirate captain to ever sail the 7 seas, or the 2 seas in this game. I don't know.
Right? How many seas we have no
Looking
idea.
at it from analytically, we have no idea. There's like one big ocean on the right side, on the east side of the continent. I don't know. Maybe we'll see more bodies of water.
Yeah, I'm curious if
Next up, Metalhead Otaku.
the world will wrap around.
Who knows? But I mean, I kind of like having the sense of like an endless open world, because the moment you have like a border or you're like an edge, people are not going to think anything past that. They're going to think, oh, well, the world's complete.
Right.
We're done. Like the sense of an open world needs to have that feeling of continuousness and open forever world. You know. I mean, I'm sure there's a physical limit.
Yeah, we'll
but
see.
You're talking too close to lore. Next up, yeah, Metalhead Otaku. Yoimiya would be right at home on Beto's ship. I kind of like that idea. You're a Yoimiya main. What do you think?
I think she would actually. I think she'd be perfect for a beta ship. Weirdly enough, she's also very go with the flow.
Yeah, she knows. I mean, she carries her weight. She she runs a shop. She has fireworks, so she could use it for like signaling or even like attacks. Yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah, she'd be the flare master.
Next up, we have. Next up, we have Charlie Hutao. Hutao on a ship with Beto would definitely add more life to the ship.
Ha!
Definitely.
More life.
I don't know how like. Yeah, that's why I said it.
Ha!
As the director of Funeral Parlor.
Ha!
Mm. Yeah, I can see that. I don't know how useful she'd be to the crew though. She seems like one that would like slack off on like responsibilities and like actual work. But yeah, what kind of match? Peachy on Genshin. Yao Yao, as she loves to sneak on. It's a Skyrim reference, Sneak 100, or Venti from the Kazuha Venti conversation after Lantern Rite. Of course, no drinking. Venti on a ship, I think, would be great because he can conjure wind to blow into the sails and, like, you know, give them or like a boost of speed or like change directions. He'd be a great utility. And of course, he's, you know, the bard. He can give some music in the background as everyone's working. I like that idea. Next up, we have Archangel. Klee would turn Beto's ship into a genuine weapon of mass destruction. Imagine carpet bombing a city with Jumpty Dumpties using the ship's ballista. Okay, you know what? Even the next one, even Lex Loothole, Master Gunner Klee, fish blasting, check. Firepower of the Alcor increased by 1000%. And Jumpty Dumpty during boarding actions, bouncing down hatches and floating at the waterline will sink any enemy. You know, I was thinking Klee, but I thought it would be way too, like, what is it? The potential for her, like, explosives to accidentally explode the ship is way too high, so I don't want anything to happen to the boat. But as far as, like, offensive capability, yes. Klee on the ballistas, or they just throw Klee onto the next ship and see what happens. It'd be hilarious. All right, so that'll be all of our community answers. Josh, what do you think was like the best answer from the community so far? Which one do you think would match the best?
I mean, I like the official and Kaya that they have an eye patch, so yeah, that works for me. I think that makes sense.
Visually, aesthetically, it makes the most sense. Yep. All right. So next question, Josh. Did you want to introduce our next question?
Yeah. So our next question, our community discussion question is, what is the luckiest you have been in Genshin Impact so far? Tell us the story. So you can answer this question either on our Discord in our community questions channel, or on Spotify, or by replying to our Twitter post about this episode on Twitter. So let us know. We want to hear from you, and you could be featured here on the next episode. So get your answers in as soon as possible. So that wraps up the show for today. As always, thanks for listening, and if you have the time, please leave a comment and a review. We'd really appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you are listening. Follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Jayside. Our Genshin Guys Twitter at Genshin Guys Pod. Follow Kahi at Kahiao, Kahiayao. And as always,
Ad Astra Abyssos.
Hoshitoshin o mezase!
Enjoy.